Hi everyone, it's Shantae, your college success coach for the Community Scholars Program. Today I just wanted to do a quick overview for everyone about how to register for classes. So some of you registered for classes last semester, some of you may have had help, some of you might have already registered for the winter semester, and some of you have not even looked at those websites yet. So the information on this little webinar will be beneficial for all of you no matter what stage of class registration you're currently in, because there's a lot of tips and tricks to make the process go smoother that you may or may not have utilized in the past. So with that, let's get started. So step one, before you do anything with registering, you should make sure that you have met with your advisor. I would recommend meeting with your advisor before every semester, but at least once a year, at the very least once a year, just to make sure that you are on the right track. So as you get further into your program at school, you'll start to come across issues and issues that complicate registration. And so one of those things is prerequisites. So a prerequisite is a class that you have to take before you can take another class. So for instance, before you take writing 121, you might have to take writing 120, and you will be unable to sign up for that later class if you have not taken the previous classes. There are a lot of options in a lot of cases. You can test into certain levels, you can get overrides, but all of those things need to be discussed with an advisor first. General education courses are another reason to meet with your advisor. So if you're just looking at your program, let's say you're a journalism major, and you're looking at your program on paper, it might not have all of the general education courses that you need to take. And a lot of students get held up with general ed classes when they get further in their program because they realize they missed something. So meeting with your advisor regularly, they can help you make sure that you're crafting a schedule that is not only allowing you to take the prerequisite classes that you need for your major or minor program, but also making sure that you're weaving those general ed courses in each semester. And as I kind of mentioned, program requirements, those are incredibly important. You want to make sure that you're taking all of the classes that you need for your major to graduate. And so when you meet with your advisor, more often than not, you will be able to actually select your classes for the upcoming semester. Depending on your school and your advisor, you may be able to actually register for those classes with your advisor in person. But often your advising appointments are very short. Usually what will happen is that you will go in and meet with your advisor. There is a way that they and you, in almost all cases, can pull up a list of do an audit for your program and say, in 1 or 2 semesters you've taken these classes, these are the classes that you need to take to complete your program, and then you can pick out classes. So you might select classes, you may not register for them with your advisor. And something else to always ask your advisor is, what alternative classes should you kind of have in the back of your mind if for some reason the classes that you wanted, that you chose with them, end up being full or clash with your schedule. Because as we talk in a minute, there's lots of ways that these sorts of things can happen. So staying connected with your advisor will help ensure that you're staying on track towards your degree, and too many students skip this important step, so I don't want any of you to. So now that you've got step one underway, you've met with your advisor, you have a list of 3, 4, 5 classes that you want to sign up for. You've got an alternative class that you want to take in case something is full. So now it's time to actually figure out when, where all of these classes are. So this is where it starts to get a little complicated. Like I said, this often doesn't happen in a room with an advisor. Where this can happen, though, is with me. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me while you're in this step 2 process. So once you have your list of classes, you want to start looking them up online. And all of your schools have course catalogs online. In November's newsletter, I'm going to send out the links to to all of the course catalogs. And this is just where you can see what classes are being offered any given semester. So here are some things to kind of keep in mind while you're looking up your classes. So let's say you meet with your advisor and they tell you you need to take Anthropology 135, whatever that is. So you're taking Anthropology 135 and you go to the course catalog and you pull up the class. So there's a few things that you want to pay attention to during your research process. You can kind of see that the courses are separated by section. So these are all Anthropology 135, but there's section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that's just how we kind of keep track of the different options that are available. And each section is designated its own specific CRN or course reference number. And so this is when you go to register for classes, this is how the system will know exactly which day, time, instructor, which actual class that you want. So just knowing that you're in Anthropology 135 is the first step, and then the next step is to find which section number. And these CRN numbers, these 5-digit numbers here on the left side, are important because we'll use those to actually register when we get to that step. So just remember that. So as you're looking up classes, you'll want to, as you're selecting them, you want to make sure you're writing down your CRNs as you're picking classes. And some things to keep in mind while you're looking. First of all, know when the classes are taking place. So any course catalog should tell you the days and times that the classes are occurring. So this class, this top one here, section 0, happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays. R in this case is Thursday. Some schools might use TH, but more often than not, Thursday is indicated with an R. And some students see this TR and they think that that means Thursday. So I've heard of students missing their Tuesday classes because they thought that a course like this designated with this TR meant only Thursdays. But in reality, it's two initials. It's the T for Tuesday and the R for Thursday. Down here, you can see MW, Monday, Wednesday. This is more self-explanatory, the time slots. So this class meets Tuesday, Thursdays from 11 to 12:15. So paying attention to dates and times are important. While you're selecting dates and times for the sections that you think you might want, I recommend using some sort of weekly planner like this here on the bottom left. I actually have some of these that I made, so I'm going to send them out to everyone. But just so you can kind of plot out what your week is going to look like. Sometimes looking at all the classes, lists like this, all the text and numbers, it can get hard to actually figure out how does this look? Like, what's my week going to look like? Where, how do I want to spread out my classes? Do I want everything on Tuesdays and Thursdays? How do I work, my job around this? So using a planner while you're picking out your classes is really, really helpful. And part of that is because you need to make sure that you're looking up the location. So something else to pay attention to is the location of the class. So, and the reason this is important is for several reasons. One, because you want to know where you're going and you don't want to wait until the first day of class to figure this out. But also because depending on where your classes are can make the way you plot them out on your schedule, that can change that. So if you take a class, let's say you sign up for this class that gets over at 4:45, and then you sign up for another class the same days that begins at 5 o'clock. It gives you 15 minutes to get from this anthropology class to your 5 o'clock class. So if both of these classes are in the same building, that's probably easy. 15 minutes, plenty of time. Maybe grab a pop on the way, glass of water, and then you can go about your day. But if your 5 o'clock class is in a completely different building, if it's across campus, if it's off campus, then that 15 minutes is likely not going to be enough time. So paying attention to the location, that's really important. And when we log in, we'll kind of look at some of those. Something else to be very mindful of is how many seats are left. So all of you are relatively early on in your college career, which means that unfortunately you were usually in the last group of students to be able to register for classes. Registration opens up with the highest seniority students first. So graduate students, seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, it kind of works down from there. It's partly because upperclassmen have less classes to take and they need to graduate, so they get the first pick. But also for freshmen, there are several sections of most of the classes that everyone needs. So you just have a lot more options, and we'll kind of see that in a second. So it's just something to be mindful of, is that since you are usually in the last group of people that get to register for classes, keeping track of what classes might already be full. So the way to read this is here, when you're on the registration page, this where it says CAP, this is for the capacity, the total capacity of the class. So the capacity for section 1 is 45. That means 45 students can register for this course. The second column here, the ACT, that means actual, section actual. So that's how many students are actually registered. And then the third column here is the remaining. So that's how many seats are open. And when we log into each of your course selections, we'll see those kind of play out in different ways. Something else to pay attention to is in the class online, does it meet in person? Is it a hybrid class? And you may want any number of those classes depending on the course at any given semester. So if a class is online where it says location here, it will say online. It won't have a date, it won't have a place listed, and it also won't have days and times listed because it will just say online, because it is, or web-based, a hybrid, because it won't meet in person, or it may only meet in person a few times. So those are something to look out for. Something that we don't talk to students about enough, I think, are our instructors. So when you're looking at the class list, you can see that there's several different instructors for just this one class. So if you have, once you get a little further in your program, you might start to have the same instructors over and over again. And you might really like that instructor and you want to sign up for their next class. You might have a friend that took Anthropology 135 last semester and they really recommended the instructor. So keep that in mind while you're picking out your classes. You know, if you use a website like ratemyprofessor.com, you can kind of get a feel for how an instructor style through those reviews. And I would caution anyone that's using reviews, either from friends or online, to just sort of just to take those reviews with a grain of salt, if you will, because people leave reviews and like and dislike all sorts of things for all different reasons. So just because someone doesn't like a professor doesn't mean that you won't. But what you can do is usually get some information about how they run their class. So a review on ratemyprofessor.com might say, instructor gives a lot of homework. Okay, that's good to know. Or it might say lots of group projects or lots of tests. So if you know that you like group work and 7 reviews on ratemyprofessor.com says that the instructor gives a lot of group projects, then that might be a good class for you. So sometimes you don't have that option, you have to take what's available, and that's fine, but it's always good to just kind of have a sense of what your options are. Class size is something else to note. So in this capacity column here, you can see these classes, these first few, all can hold 45 people. This section 3 class here has 98. That's a big class. You might prefer a big class, or maybe you want more of a traditional sized class. So maybe section 6 here is more up your alley because it only can hold 25 people. So there's a lot of information here in these course catalogs that everyone should pay attention to. Number of credits. Many of you want or need to be full-time. Class credits can range from anywhere from 1 to 4 credits, sometimes less or more. So make sure that you are paying attention to the number of credits in your class. And if your advisor tells you that you need to take some sort of lab, a biology lab class, a psychology lab, just know that sometimes that means you have to sign up for a separate class, like a 1 credit class, or that there might be some additional fees. So we'll kind of look at that here in a second. So here we go. So looking at, since I am a student at EMU, I can kind of show you guys a little behind the scenes, but we're going to go through each of your schools really quickly just so you can kind of see what these course catalogs that I keep referring to look like. So on EMU, get to this page from the My eMesh page, you will notice that all of these sites look very similar, which is good for any of you that might transfer or move on to grad school later on. It is good to know that these systems are very similar. So we're just looking up classes right now. So we're going to go to registration, look up classes, looking for winter. So let's say that my advisor tells me, let's say I'm a freshman, my advisor tells me that I need to take writing 121. So I'm going to go all the way down to writing, click course search, and here are all the writing classes. So here is 121. And you can see that for this class, there are a lot of options. And a lot of them are already full. You can see over here, the little C means it's closed. I can't click on it, just select it. You can see some of the options that we talked about before with the capacity, the actual remaining. You can see the instructors listed over on the right here. You can see the time, the date range that the classes run from. Most of the time classes run for a whole semester. Not every class does. I know at WCC we have a lot of like 7-week courses. EMU has some as well. So just make sure you're just paying attention to everything that's written here all the way across. You can see the location, the building number, and room number, all of that good stuff. So let's look at WCC. WCC, you get to the course schedule right from their main page. So let's say I'm at WCC and I need to take a psychology class. So I scroll down, looking at psychology, and I can see all the psychology classes that are offered this semester. So here at WCC, before you could take an online class, you have to take a little additional class first, just to make sure that you are ready to take an online class, because it is a little bit different. And there may be different requirements at your campus too. So just make sure that when you're signing up that you know if the class is online. So here, all of these first classes are online. Let's say I don't want to take an online class. I just want to take an in-person class, and this works with my schedule. So I can see here that there are still 24 seats open. These are the date ranges here. Class meets Monday, Wednesday, 9 to 10:25. This is the instructor in the class. And on this website, it even tells us the books that I'll need for this class, which can be helpful. Wayne State course catalog, very similar as you're starting to notice. So let's say I need to take French here at Wayne State. And I'm in my second semester, so I'm going to take this elementary French 1020. So a lot of your course catalogs will tell you if there's a prerequisite for this class. So the system won't let me sign up for something if I've not taken the prerequisite. So before I can take French 1020, I have to take French 1010. So let's say I've already taken it. So these classes are the classes for me. Here are the course reference numbers. You can see here, 5-digit number on all of the pages. Also 5-digit number here, WCC, EMU, your 5-digit number. Back to Wayne State. You can see traditional, so these are not online classes. These are the instructors. These are 4-credit classes. And over here you can see how many seats are available. So I can't sign up for this one because that class is full, but all of these other classes have seats. And University of Toledo, also very easy to find classes. So let's say I'm here getting ready for next semester and I need to take an art class. So I select art, scroll down to class search, and you can see all the list of art classes. So you see the websites look a little different, but you're seeing all the same information. CR number, it's always a 5-digit number. It's right here. You can see the semester, the times that the class meets, the days that it meets out of the week, the building, the instructor, and something. Let's see, let's look at, I'm going to take art 1060. So I could see there's 15 people can be in the class. 9 people have signed up, 6 remaining. And as I mentioned earlier, this being a performance style class, studio class, there's an additional fee. So there's a lab fee that goes along with this class. And there will be other classes like psychology labs, biology labs. Some of these other studio performance style classes might have additional fees too. So that is that. So now you have picked out all of your classes, you've written down your schedule, you have all of your CRN numbers ready, and now you're actually ready to register for classes. So I'm going to walk you through what this looks like on a couple of different systems. Here is WCC's. So if nothing else, kind of watch this part with me. I do not have access to the student view, so this is a YouTube video I found that I'm going to narrate for you. So you'll click on My WCC. You will, if there's any notifications for you early on, when you first click on the button, then go ahead and say yes, no, answer the questions however appropriate for you. And then you click on Registration. This page will look the same for almost all of you. So Add Drop Classes. And you'll select your term. It's an old video, so you'll see winter 2017 as your option. At WCC, you have to have paid or made arrangements to pay your tuition before the semester starts. Otherwise, your classes will drop. So this page is just making sure you understand that. And I'm going to pause this here. So, as I mentioned earlier, that you need to make sure that you are writing down your 5-digit CRN numbers for each of your classes. And this is why. Let's let it keep going here. That is how you actually register for your classes, is by either copying and pasting the CRN numbers from the course catalog or writing down and very carefully typing the CRN numbers into the add drop worksheet on your school's page. So you'll hit register for classes. Don't really need to worry about this as much here. So once you get all registered, this is just for WCC students, depending on if you want the membership for the gym. So then you come to this page. So once you've actually registered, you should see web registered next to all of the classes that you picked. If for some reason something went wrong, if you tried to sign up for 2 classes that were at the same time, if you tried to sign up for something that has a prerequisite, if you try to sign up for something that's full, you'll get some sort of error message here where it says status. And that is when you might have to go back to your list of backup classes. Maybe English 111, the section that you picked is full, so you need to go pick another section. Maybe all of the sections for something is full and you have to pick a totally different class. So that's why being prepared is a really good option, because that happens. It happened to me this semester, so I had to quickly add a new class. So once you see this page here, everything web registered, you should be all set. I'll walk you through a little bit on my personal EMU registration, so you can kind of see what it looks like from this angle. So same thing, registration. I'm going to click add drop classes. And since I've already registered, you can kind of see so this is a different system, different school, very similar layout here. So the CRN, the add classes, the worksheet is down here. So let's say this one class, I need this class, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Yep, so I've written down all my CRI numbers. When my registration opens, whatever day and time that is, I'm all prepared. I sit down when registration opens and I type in all my CRI numbers, and then I'll hit submit changes, which I'm going to actually not do because I'm already registered. And then this box will pop up where I can see my schedule for the semester I just registered for. If for some reason you need to drop or change something, underneath where it says action, there is a little option for web drop, which I'm going to be very careful with because I don't want to drop my classes. I always recommend that you add a class first before dropping something else, just to make sure that you still end up with enough classes, and then if you need to tweak later, then you can. So if you need to change something, add it to your schedule and then drop the class that you need to drop. So you can do that up until till registration closes. There's different deadlines for registration. There are deadlines for when fees start being assessed. So I can help you with those deadlines for your school if that ever comes up. So like I mentioned, there are some issues that you can run across with registration. One of them could be classes are full. Another one could be you don't have the right prerequisites. A common problem that students run across is that they have a hold on their account. So there are a few different ways that students can have holds on their account, but a really common hold is a financial hold. So if last semester you had a balance left on your bill, and maybe you're making payments, or you're supposed to make payments, or you haven't figured out your payment system yet, it is very possible and likely that you will be unable to register for the following semester until the financial hold is lifted from your account. So whatever that looks like at your school, sometimes it's as easy as calling the financial aid office and making arrangements. Sometimes you just have to get your bill below a certain amount. So if you owe less than $100 or $200, then you can register, but every school is a little different there. So you may go in to register, you might have met with an advisor, picked all your classes, you go to register, you get an error message telling you have a hold. So if that happens, let me know, just so I can kind of help you see where to go next, figure out where the hold might be, and so we can figure out how to get it cleared up for you so you can register. Another reason why registration and is linked very closely to your tuition and financial aid is because that's actually how you pay for school is based on the number of credits that you are registered for each semester. So that's how tuition is calculated. So for this section, I'm talking about strictly tuition rates, which I mean, when I say that, I mean the amount of money that it costs for you to just go to class. So I'm not talking about additional fees like student activities fees, technology fees. I'm not talking about room and board or meal plans. I'm just talking about the price of credits. So let's say I'm a student at Washington Community College, and last semester I took one class. I took a 3-credit class, and now next semester I want to take 3 classes with 9 credits. I'm going to pay more next semester than I did this semester. So depending on what your financial aid looks like, that might be okay. If you pay out of pocket, just be aware that that's going to cost a little more. So put that in context a little bit. Let's say that this semester, your first semester, this fall semester, you took 12 credits at Wayne State University. We'll use them as an example. So 12 credits times the $360.39 per credit hour. That's roughly 4 classes. So for 4 classes, just for tuition, those 12 credits would cost you a little over $4,300. So let's say you meet with your advisor and they recommend that next semester you take 15 credits. And you're like, great, I'll graduate faster if I take more credits. True, but always be mindful of how that's going to affect your tuition cost and your financial aid. So $4,300 for the 12 credits. So now for winter, you want to take 15 credits at the same $360. So that could be almost $1,100 more in tuition costs. So of course your other fees stay the same. Over time, it's actually cheaper to take more credits a semester, but in the short term, your tuition cost will go up. So if you pay out of pocket, just note that. If you get financial aid and maybe you got a refund last semester, you may get less of a refund if you take more classes. But to further complicate things, of course, most financial aid packages require that you be at least part-time or at least full-time, more commonly, in order for your financial aid package to remain the same. So if you have 13 credits and you drop a class and you become less than a full-time student, then your financial aid package may change. So it's not as cut and dry as just this, I get this much money for this many credits. Your part-time, full-time status matters too. So if you are thinking about dropping at any point any classes, please talk to your advisor, talk to me, talk to your success coach on your campus if you have one, talk to your parents, just make sure that you're letting someone know and asking questions to figure out how will the way I register or drop classes, like how will this affect my my financial aid going forward if you use financial aid. So that is it. I was going to try to keep this one shorter. That did not happen. But this is very important. Like I said, I know a lot of you are already in the middle of doing this. I helped some of you last week register for classes, and some of you still are registering, and you'll have to register every year. So don't be SpongeBob here. When I first started in college, I used to get very frustrated by registering for classes. And this semester and last semester, it barely, it was barely notable because I was prepared. And it's partly because you get better at it and you learn kind of like the tips and tricks, which is why I'm here. So I've learned those. So please let me help you so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. And just being prepared takes out a lot of the stress. So if you've blocked off your tentative schedule and you have your CRN numbers, you know what sections you want to take, you are ready to go as soon as registration opens, and you have alternative classes picked up as a backup, you'll do just fine. So, and as always, please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.